What's wrong?
I'm always the one saying welcome. Fuck me.
Welcome.
All right. Welcome. Today's episode, we'll talk about what could be classed as a very controversial movie. A movie based on a book that for everyone that was involved in this particular thing, or rather who the book was about, they all said the book itself was a lot of bullshit. And that is Lords of Chaos. The story about the pretty much the early days of the second wave of the Norwegian black metal scene. The movie itself is based more upon Mayhem and mentions Burzum a bit there, but mostly centered around Euronymous and Varg, also known as Count Grishnak back in them days, which was interesting that, you know, they totally left out a lot of the other bands. The second wave, you know, you had fucking Dark Throne, Satyricon, Emperor, Gorgoroth. Well, they did touch on Emperor a slight bit with Faust, who knocked off that gay guy in the woods. But yeah, essentially, this whole movie was based around Euronymous.
Yeah.
Loosely based. Even at the start, they say what was it based on truth, lies, and what really happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, some mixed thoughts about it, but we might start off with what we thought of it as an actual movie, if you like.
I actually thought it was a good movie. Like, without knowing any of the background, because I don't, again, not a black metal person, so I didn't really know too much about what was happening back then or even now. But when we went and saw it, just as a movie, it was good just to watch.
Yeah.
It looks completely fabricated, like how everything happened in the movie and how Euronymous is the way they, like, again, not knowing that it's based on true events, but if it was completely character written and completely fabricated, you'd think that, Euronymous is just that one absolute cunt character who's extremely manipulative and tries to come across as everything's his idea after the fact, and he just comes across as a typical villain character. And then when you get towards the end of the movie, everything obviously changes. And then just the dead suicide scene, that whole character seems made up, to be honest. Like, when they're driving along after he's been picked up from the airport or wherever, from the bus port, and they pull over and he picks up the dead fox and fucking starts sniffing it. Like, who the fuck does that?
Nah, apparently, Dead, that's how Dead was.
Yeah, but without knowing all that, just watching the movie, it's like, fuck, no one's actually going to do that. No one's pulling over on the highway to pick up a fucking dead dog and sniff it. So just as a movie, I thought it was really good. Even if you're not into black metal, and you just prefer, I wouldn't say it's a horror movie. I'd say it's more of a thriller drama type movie, because there's a lot of weird shit happening in it. But just as that genre, it's just a good movie. I thought it was really, really good. I've watched it a few times since we saw it at the cinema. And again, recently for this podcast. But yeah, I can sit down and get through it with no problems.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah, looking at it from a movie point of view, I did enjoy the movie. But because, you know, before the movie and then also after the movie, I've done quite a bit of research into it all. So it's hard for me in that sense of just seeing it as a movie rather than looking at bits of it and being like, that didn't happen, that's full of shit, this cunt's made this up, fucking rah. But I mean, yeah, I thought it was alright as a movie, but very over dramatized with certain things. But yeah, in the sense of what actually happened in the movie compared to what happened in real life, we're never going to know exactly what happened.
But at the same time,
but there's many different views.
That's what we say about everything. Every time we talk about a singer or a band has said this and someone said they'd done that and a book came out about something or a movie was written or an article was written, we always, and actually especially with all the Slipknot drama that's happened over the years, with Joey leaving, Paul's death, and then Chris being kicked out or whatever, we've always said to each other, it's just like, no one's ever really going to know what happened. And
No.
mostly because like the people in the bands who are still there, they're trying to protect the band. But then you got
Yep.
the guys who have been kicked out or whatever, they're probably contractually bound a gag order, or you know, their contract might be you'll get royalties as long as you keep your mouth shut. Or who knows? You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's all speculation. But
Well, that's like for this particular one, as I mentioned, like being that it's pretty much based around the formation of Mayhem. They left out a lot of details. Like they left out a couple of singers and shit like that. But I suppose if they had to incorporate all of that, the movie would have been too long-winded.
yeah,
And just for your average bloke that doesn't know about the black metal scene, then it would just be like fucking confuse the fuck out of people, I suppose, for the movie.
probably would have been a
I'm not claiming
two-parter.
to know. Yeah, well, and I'm not claiming to know everything about black metal. I mean, I've only just got into black metal over the past fucking, I don't know, what, 5 years or whatever it is. I'm not a long-term black metal fan. But yeah, it's interesting. Like you see interviews with Mayhem, and there was one that asked him about what the band thought about Lords of Chaos, and the two guitarists, Telok and what's his name, Gould it might be. Probably got that fucking wrong. Pretty much said, look, we don't give a fuck about it because it's not about us. This was before our time.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to have a chat to Necro Butcher because
Yeah.
he was around that time. And Necro Butcher, pretty much like he said, you know, he wasn't happy about it at first because, you know, he was trying to keep the integrity of his band and all that shit. And in the end, he sort of just, he sort of just went off. I couldn't give a fuck, you know.
yeah,
He was upset about the whole. He said it was quite a sad movie in the sense of, you know, it's bringing him back to that day, especially because he was good mates with Dead. And I know he wasn't happy when the book came out because they used the picture of Dead in the book,
the album cover.
which is another thing. The bootleg album cover, which they claimed was when Uranus broke into the fucking barn and because he lost his key or whatever bullshit, and rearranged Dead's body and took photos of it. So watching that scene and sort of hearing, you know, all the people that were around that time, different interviews they've done about how much of a fuckwit Euronymous was,
yeah,
it makes me think more that, you know, like you see in the movie, it's pretty graphic. He cuts his wrist and he fucking shoots himself.
in his throat.
I'm still thinking that fucking Euronymous had something to do with the death itself. Because, you know, it was portrayed as well that, you know, a few times in the movie he's like, oh, why don't you just end your life, you know, like if it's that bad. And then throughout the movie as well, I don't even remember, he's like haunted in a sense of flashbacks from Dead coming back and forth. But I honestly believe that the sick cunt probably had something to do with his death. Whether he actually killed himself, made it look like a suicide, or maybe he added some wounds and shit after he already found his body.
Yeah.
Who fucking knows?
See, what I feel like, again, looking at it from someone who's just, like, before you mentioned the movie, I had no idea. I'd heard of Mayhem, but I had no idea of all this shit in the background. And I remember hearing about church burnings. We'll get to that in a minute. But I didn't realise it was so tied into the to this band and to Varg and all that sort of stuff. But just watching the movie and to see the progression of the character of Euronymous, the way he went from... Ideally, like the movie opens with him and his sister in the bathroom. He's dyeing his hair. Like, do I look evil and all that sort of rubbish and blah blah blah. Look, just like jamming in the basement with his mates. He's just like a typical fucking teenager. And then all of a sudden, he's out of the town in that farmhouse type situation, partying, and they're wearing corpse paint. So he's gone from like a typical teenager to like a hardcore black metal person, or what you'd expect to be a hardcore black metal person. But then, like, as everything sort of falls apart on him, dude cuts his hair, gets an apartment. He's making fucking electronic music now. He's not even in black metal. You know what I mean? Like,
but I think they done that to sort of turn around and make him look like the poor fucking victim, like he'd done nothing wrong.
Yeah. But that's what
because
I'm saying.
I found a lot of it hard to watch because they painted Varg to be the bad guy in all of it.
Yeah.
Like he was some timid little fuckwit.
Yeah, I'll get to him in a sec. I've got some notes down about his character, the way it was written as well, compared to the videos you used to send me. But it looks like Euronymous was like, he was trying to take credit for a lot of shit. He was trying to manipulate the people around him to do certain things. Like at the start when he's like, throws a knife to his mate and says, cut him. and they fucking his
Yep.
mates are freaking out. It's like, well, if that actually happened, I can't see him actually wanting his mate to go through with that. I think he's just trying to freak him out and be that hardcore person. I think he's, lack of a better word, kind of like a poser to a point. You know, he's not really that person, but this is who he's trying to portray. And the way the character is written in the movie is that the fictional character he wrote for himself in real life didn't work out in the black metal scene, so he just flipped his life, changed genres of music, and sort of just tried to go a separate direction. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's what it looks like on the outside, looking in. So, but then, as you mentioned, Varg, how they wrote him like a little bitch.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like, even the characters that they portrayed for it, like when Varg used to be allowed on YouTube before they fucking banned him off YouTube.
Yeah.
They kicked him off the platform because of his views. I watched a lot of his videos leading up to the release of Lords of Chaos to see his perspective on it all. And after it was released as well, where he was saying certain things about it. And he wasn't happy that they picked a fat Jew to play him.
Yeah.
And that's his words, not mine. You want to hate on me? I don't fucking
Yeah,
give a
no.
fuck, but
I remember you sending me those videos.
And he said as well that he thought it was pretty fucked. Well, he thought it was funny, the coincidence of how they ended up with that fucking McCulkin bloke or whatever.
Yeah.
Rory.
Rory, yeah.
Because apparently Euronymous hated fucking drug addicts. Absolutely fucking hated them. His way, he believes something along the lines of he wished they'd all just take an overdose and die. And then they get an ex-junkie to play his role.
Yeah.
So it's like, fucking, there you go. And how would it be for that poor actor playing Varg to have to fucking wear swastikas and shit and fucking punch out the other bloke and be like, you fake fucking Nazi?
Yeah.
Like when the bloke's Jewish, for fuck's sake.
I think when you're an actor and you're getting paid to play something, you've got to have that mentality is you are just playing a character. And when Varg came out and said, oh, they got this person to play me, if I was the actor, I'd be like, yeah, fuck off, mate. You're the one that fucking done all this dumb shit anyway. This is you're the reason, one of the reasons this movie's been made. You're the reason that I'm playing this stupid fucking character. So I mean, I can see it from Varg's point, but as an actor, I'd be just kind of whatever.
Oh no, but Varg was taking the piss out of it too because he's like, oh, who will they get to play Snorro? Will they get to play some black actor? And put up like a fucking picture of Wesley Snipes or some shit.
He gets like, for lack of a better term, he gets very anti-Semitic about the whole thing. Like a Jew. Like, you don't have to say they got a Jew to play me. Okay, cool. They got this dude to play me. A, he looks nothing like me. B, I don't know if I don't know if he actually was a little fatty back then or if he was actually pretty lean. Who knows? He could have picked on other criteria.
No, they based it all, like they've shown pictures and shit of what they looked like back then. And that's another thing actually that Necro Butcher commented on in that interview I was talking about just a bit ago, about how he was quite impressed with how into the times they got it, like how far in they went, even with like wardrobe and shit, to make sure they had the same sort of fucking clothes as they were wearing in the era, shit like that. But
one thing that stuck out,
it's just
about when I said they wrote, well, the note that I've got here about the movies, they wrote Varg's character very stupid. Like, he wasn't an intelligent person because he, you know that scene, just after their gig and Dead's fucking cut his wrist on stage and he's sitting in the diner. He's like all fucking in shock and freaking out. And Varg's at that diner and he's wearing that the vest and he's got the Scorpions patch. It was like the scene finishes there and cuts to like what I assume would be the next morning. And he's sitting at his dinner or his dining table, eating breakfast, wearing corpse paint. And then it cuts, like the camera pans down to the bin and the Scorpions patch is in the bin. It's like, how do they actually know like that even happened, that he was so fucking sad of a character to sit at home wearing corpse paint eating breakfast?
That's the thing, like, that's another one where a lot of people around the scene at the time have all said the way they portrayed Varg was pretty shit. Varg was a very intelligent bloke who had all his own ideas. He wasn't a fucking follower. Everything else, he did his own thing. And that's the thing as well, they make it seem like that's the first time he ever talked to Euronymous, yet apparently they used to pen pal each other. And Varg was also in a band called, I think it was Old Funeral or some shit back in the day too. Before all this shit with Mayhem and all that. And before he was fucking, because he ended up playing bass obviously for Mayhem. He also had Burzum going. But the way they portrayed him was like he was some timid little bloke that was, oh shit, and he's just a retard. And that's another reason why he was so upset by it, because he's like, well, they've pretty much character assassinated me.
Yeah.
This bloke's had an issue. And I mean, like I said, they do certain things for the sake of Hollywood, you know, like take their own liberties or whatever. But it would have been cool to see an actual movie more as a documentary that told the story more to the lines of what actually happened. Because even after that book was released, Lords of Chaos, a lot of the people that were around that scene at the time, they all then went on documentaries. I think it was called As the Light Takes Us or something like that, to clarify and clear up all the bullshit that have been talked about in this book. So this director, rather than fucking going off the book that everyone in the scene at the time said was bullshit, could have went ahead and actually done his research, reached out to the people and said, can we fucking sort this out, make it more accurate? But it never happened that way.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, why a lot of the people in the scene, because a lot of them were asked as well, can we use your music? And they pretty much all told them to get fucked.
Yeah, I remember you said that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's just the whole times were crazy, especially like the church burnings. When then this is where it comes back to like the way they wrote Varg. Like I'd love to actually see a full on proper movie documentary about it. Actually interviewing everyone, Varg as well. Maybe not in the same room as everyone else if that's going to create issues, but just do independent interviews with all the people who were around back then and get their take on it and see what contradicts it. You know what I mean? Like, don't edit to make a narrative. Just see if what Varg has to say is contradicted by Necro Butcher or whoever. Because
that's what I mean. That's why they released that as light. Fuck, I should have looked up what it was called. Something like As Light Decays or As Light something.
Yeah.
They made that documentary interviewing all them people because of how much bullshit was talked about in the actual Lords of Chaos book that they based the movie off of.
Yeah.
So it is out there. Or As the Light Takes Us, it might be called.
I'll look into it.
Something like that. But yeah.
But with the church burnings, that was fucking hectic because he goes into Euronymous' little record store, I think, and he's like, "Oh, I burned the church down, blah blah blah." And Euronymous like turns around, and he's like, "Oh my god, I told him to do that." When all he really said was go out and make your mark, essentially. And as soon as he did that by burning a fucking church down, and that's what I'm saying. Like Euronymous, if that's fact that he sort of took that on as his own idea, very manipulative, trying to be very influential in people's lives around him, and he was at the end of the day, it was nothing but just a little fucking rat. Like you know what I mean? He never really did much. There's a lot of people around him doing things. So,
well, and that's the thing, and that's where a lot of them as well in the scene at the time all said, you know, he was a fuckwit. He didn't do a lot. He was a poser himself, even though he went on about, black metal posers. But it's funny then when you see things as well. Like obviously, at the end, you see the whole scene where Varg fucking stabs him in self-defense.
Yeah.
Self-defense. And then you got like Necro Butcher coming out saying, well, I too was on my way to kill Euronymous, but Varg fucking beat me to it.
Yeah.
But it's funny because Varg actually put out a video to clear all that up where in the end scene there... Hello, Ghosty. In the end scene, they're making out like, oh, he's begging for his life and all that, and he even stops to have a chocolate milk, for fuck's sake. But Varg even said himself, look, I'll say a lot of things down about Euronymous, about how much of a piece of shit he was. Because, man, Euronymous ripped Varg off big time with the whole fucking Burzum record deal and all that shit. But he goes, yep, I'll say a lot of things to downplay him. Often people talk good about the dead, but I'll tell you even when he's dead, he was a fuckwit. But one thing I will say he had for him was he was not a coward. He never begged for his life like they showed in the movie. He fucking fought back, and he was not a fucking coward.
Okay.
So, but yeah.
That's interesting.
You can't watch that video, unfortunately, because they took it all off YouTube when they shut down Varg's channel.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, well, I guess now we get labelled as Nazis just for even...
talking about it.
Fucking mentioning Varg's channel, but
yeah.
Fuck me. People are stupid.
It's just as a movie, as I said, like a very interesting movie. And it's the type of thing you don't have to be into heavy metal or black metal to want to watch that. I think it's just a good movie for anyone. But then going into it, thinking that it's just a movie, complete fiction, but then finding out it's actually based on, well, the bass player did go and kill the guitarist, and You know what I mean? And the singer did cut his wrist on stage, and then he did kill himself.
Well, it's just like where they talk about how Euronymous apparently took Dead's shards of his skull and made necklaces out of it and gave them to people he said were true black metal.
That's when Necro
That's the
Butcher.
whole reason Necro Butcher cracked it.
Yeah, he
and
left.
that's the reason
that.
why as well why he wanted to fucking go take him out.
Yeah,
that's a bit
then they
creepy. Turned around and said, "Oh no, that was actually chicken bones. It wasn't actually his skull." So that's going to be another one of them myths that you're never going to know the fucking real answer because the bloke who apparently done it is now fucking dead.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's crazy.
But yes.
Yeah, just it was a bit. The whole thing was a bit weird with Dead. I think. More information about him in the movie would have been good because I kind of feel like
he was pretty much there and then he was dead pretty much within not even first half of the movie.
No, I don't. Yeah,
and he was just.
It wasn't.
He wasn't around for too long in the movie.
It was within the first 10 minutes. I think it was 8 minutes something. In the movie is when Dead was up in his room just laying there, fucking thinking about death, I suppose. And Euronymous is rocked up there. He goes, "Oh fucking, why don't you just kill yourself? Just one shot to the head." Like it was within 10 minutes. The character of Euronymous was already trying to egg Dead off himself, and that's when they went out and started chasing that cat around in the bush, and trying to shoot it. And then Dead grabs the gun and puts it to his forehead and tells Euronymous to pull the trigger. It's very, very quick. And I think it was only like maybe 5 or 10 minutes after that, he's dead.
Yeah.
So
it was well within the first, say, half hour of the movie that he actually died off.
Yeah.
I knew it was very quick.
Yeah, it was super quick. It's actually, I remember when we went to the cinema, I remember we had that fuckhead next to us and his missus, like taking just my attention from the movie. And then when it came to the death scene for Dead, you're like, fuck, it's not over yet, mate. And I thought he'd just cut his wrist and he's straight and that's it. And then he'd fucking gone and blew his head off. For some reason, when I go back and watch the movie now, I always think that's later in the movie, but it's not. It's actually fucking right at the start.
Yeah, so a quick bit of background to what Gene's referring to here. We booked tickets for I suppose it would be classed as a one-time screening in Perth.
Yeah.
And we had a bloke and his missus next to us, drunk as fuck, and he was on fuck knows what else. And she looked like she'd actually wanted to watch the movie.
Yeah.
But he was just being an absolute knobhead. And so she cracked the shits and left. And then was stuck with his dickhead next to us for most of the movie until he finally fucking left. He even stumbled down the fucking stairs at one stage.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to get punched out at one
stage.
I
thought he was going to fall down the fucking stairs. But his missus...
I was ready to throw him down the stairs at one stage. He was being a fucking cockhead.
His missus seemed like she was like there to watch a movie, as you said. And he was just fucking acting up, so she took off, which is pretty shit. But... yeah, so just because of that little incident in the movies, I always thought that Dead's death was like a lot further into the movie than what it actually is. So,
yeah.
I don't know, how accurate do you think it is that he fucking gashed his wrists, then his throat, and then shot himself?
Like I said earlier, I think Euronymous had a part to play in that. I don't know whether maybe he just slit his wrists and then Euronymous done the rest, or if he'd shot himself and then to make him look more gruesome, Euronymous cut him up afterwards. I don't know if any of that came out in an autopsy or if you're even going to be able to tell how soon apart they were or whatever.
Yeah.
But it all seemed pretty sus because, I mean, I've heard stories over the years about how if you cut your wrist, then you don't really have enough strength to cut the other wrist and shit.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's true. I'm not a fucking doctor. But... then when he's doing his wrist, his throat, and then shooting himself in the head too, it seems a bit fucking extreme for him to do it all on his own fucking sort of will.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I still think that Euronymous had more to do with it than just finding the body.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
for all you know, Euronymous he
fucking knows?
Cut his wrist and cut his throat, and he was on his bed for all you know, and Euronymous picked up the fucking rifle and dooged. Killed him, you know?
That's the thing, because apparently he rearranged the body to take them photos.
Yeah.
So what's not to say that he didn't do more damage to him to make the photos look more gruesome, because then that would be more black metal or whatever.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's funny as well how Varg's whole side of it is, well, he wanted to kill me. So, or as Varg put it, something along the lines of, he tried to kill me, but he failed miserably. That's like, yeah, obviously, because he's dead and you're not. But he had plans to kill Varg, so Varg took matters in his own hands and knocked him off instead. And yeah, it could have turned out a lot different. If he had got to Varg first, would anyone have even known about it? Would have it become the big black metal fucking thing that it is now? Who fucking knows?
Would he
If
have
he had
even
stayed alive.
Would he have even killed Varg? You know, who knows?
Well, yeah. And if Varg didn't kill him, would have Necro Butcher killed him like he claims? I don't know if you've seen that interview.
I think I saw
Necro
it
Butcher's
ages
like,
ago.
I too was on my way to kill Euronymous.
I think I did see it ages and ages and ages ago. Because I did, after we saw the movie, I did do a lot of research and just watched a bunch of random shit. You kept sending me Varg videos, so I was watching like the news, like the YouTube feed, like all that shit was coming up because I was watching Varg
I remember
videos.
that because I'd be like, remember that part of the movie where fucking they done this and this? Well, this is what Varg reckons really happened. And I'd send it through and I remember that shit.
No, again, thought it was a good movie. I'd like to know. It's one of those things, like I usually don't care how much of what people say in a book or in a movie is based on real facts. Like the Motley Crue movie Dirt is based on the book Dirt, but how much of it is legit, only the people who lived it know, and they're not going to tell you.
Well, with that one in general, there was parts in that where they'd written about certain things.
Yeah.
And then when it came out to look bad on the band, then the band actually turned around and said, oh, well, we're pretty drugged up at that stage, so maybe that didn't actually happen.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So,
like, you never,
right,
no one's ever really going to know, but this is one topic I'd actually love to know. Like, if I could travel back in time and just observe, this is one thing I definitely want to go back and check out. It's just really just a bunch of crazy circumstances over a few years, isn't it? Like,
yeah, it was
like
early
when you
90s.
see Dead, like when he's there, he's already got mass scarring on his wrists or his forearms. I don't know if you noticed that in the movie.
He was obsessed with death in general.
Yeah. So like
So he was already a very troubled bloke.
Yeah, he was just. But it's kind of weird. Like when I was watching it the other day, I looked at that diner scene or the takeaway shop scene after the gig, and they've just like put duct tape or something around his wrist to keep his skin together or whatever.
Yeah.
And the way he's sitting there in shock, and all that really happens is Euronymous asks if he's okay, and the dude's clearly in shock in the movie. It's like if someone's actually depressed and they've done that to themselves on stage, wouldn't you want to show them that you actually give a shit about their life and do something to help that situation? You know what I mean? Like, even if you know it's a lost cause, you'd still want to try.
Yeah, maybe that's not the kind of bloke that fucking Euronymous was.
I don't think he was either.
Obviously he wasn't.
But all the other people in the
Because
band...
he wasn't a very well-respected guy. Like, you watch all these interviews with other people that were around at that time. He had no respect at all from any of them.
Yeah.
They all thought he was an absolute cockhead.
Yeah.
And that's where it comes back to as well, where it seems like the directors then try to flip it around at the end and make it out like, obviously the whole movie, he made Varg out to look like some fucking absolute cockhead. Like, he was a fucking very fucking special sort.
As I said, like, it'd be good to, if that ever got remade, to have Varg portrayed a little bit more realistic. As I said, like, all the scenes with him in it that were Varg predominantly. So, as I said, like, the next morning where he's sitting at the table eating his cereal in corpse paint, like, that probably didn't actually fucking happen because there's no one there to verify.
No, he was into the corpse paint back then.
But just sitting at home alone eating cereal for breakfast. You know what I mean?
Knows, mate. I suppose
but then
you got to try your fucking get your corpse paint happening and see how you go.
That shit ain't happening.
Get with it on, mate.
But then, like, even the interview, like, I gotta look up the tape actually to see how much that was real. You know how he went to the reporter behind everyone's back, and he's called himself fucking Lord whatever, and he's got the Nazi.
That all happened. That's why, because he said as well about how the journalist fucking dobbed him in on that one, and yeah, that was all documented, and that's why he got arrested in the first place.
Yeah,
but there wasn't enough evidence to actually put him away.
But then he
apparently had plans to blow up a fucking church too, because
he had C4.
It was made out of brick.
Yeah, he had explosives on the scenes, but that interview, that scene was like he's gone overboard to make it eerily black metal, like all the lighting.
Yep.
He had his fucking hair in his face and the fucking Nazi flag, swastika flag as well.
Yep.
It's like, oh fuck. I don't know if all of that.
Because they say in there something along the lines of, so you're a pagan Nazi Satanist or some shit. That's quite a combination.
Yeah.
Something along them lines. But his whole view, like he's admitted as well in interviews that when he was younger he did follow all of that fucking Nazi side of things. But yeah, it was the Norse heritage that he was into. That's why he was burning churches, because the way he told it as well was, these fucking Christians come in, fucking destroyed our country, taken over everything. They burnt down our churches and desecrated our land, then built their churches over the top.
Yeah.
So fuck them. So he's retaking their Nordic land. People, depend on which way they see it, are all going to see it different ways. I just see it as whatever he done. Doesn't fucking concern me. But people will see it as, oh no, well, if you like what he done, then you're a Nazi, or if you like what he done, you're anti-Christian, or fucking this and that.
Yeah.
And
especially
it just
these
comes back
days.
to all the way that the world is these days. But yeah, I mean, I would have liked to see the movie not only presented differently, like more factual, but also including more around what happened with them earlier bands that I mentioned, like Gorgoroth and Emperor, fucking Dark Throne, everything like that. Because, I mean, essentially, they were all around at the same time. Like Faust, who was the drummer for Emperor, who knocked off that bloke. He was living at the shop. So it's not like they didn't know each other, because they're all in the same scene, they all hung out together.
Yeah, it was very
It
tight.
would have been nice to see a lot more, but then I think that would have confused too many people, being that it was just a Hollywood movie, essentially.
Yeah.
You
can't put too much
as a
information.
series.
Yeah.
But it would be good as a like television series, doing like hour episodes or some shit to introduce everyone and go that way. I don't know how successful it would be, being that black metal isn't exactly the most fucking biggest fucking thing out there. But that would be fucking cool to see. Someone do a fucking actual series on it and get real in depth and go from there.
Yeah, like have like 4 or 5 core characters and they all get their own intro episode while other events are happening. You know what I mean? Like you've seen those TV shows before. You like one episode will be predominantly 80% one character and 20% of just other shit that's happening in the group and all that sort of stuff. So something like that would be cool to see. But the whole movie just comes across as like these kids were just fucked up. Like the start of it, they're just delinquent teens fucking being rebellious.
Well, essentially, that's all they were. They were fucking kids, really.
And then next minute, you singer's cutting his forearms up on stage. Then he fucking kills himself. Then you got the guitarist who takes photos of the body and puts it on the album release cover. And apparently has skull fragments and necklace. And then the singer likes to kill cats. And he's got cats hanging in his bedroom. Like dead cats.
Yeah.
Like
apparently that side of it was bullshit too, but it's going to be another one of the things that you're never going to know for
sure.
You're
going to never... Exactly. Yeah, you'll never know.
He was obsessed with death. Apparently when he sent them the demo tape, he actually nailed a fucking a mouse or something to a cross and sent it with him and shit like that. And he used to actually bury his clothes before gigs.
Yeah.
So that they could rot and shit and sniff dead fucking animals before going on stage and all sorts of shit like that. The bloke had fucking issues.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, that's what I mean. Like
time.
The dude, like the way he's introduced is that he was bullied and beaten in school as a kid and died for a minute or something like that, or a couple of minutes, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And ever since then, his head wasn't right, and he had that fascination with death. It's just fucking strange. It really is just like these group of people could not have without black metal, like they would have probably never found each other. And who knows where Dead would be today, and who knows where Euronymous would be, or Varg, where he would be today if he would have done prison time, if he would have even burned down churches. It's without Mayhem, the band, how much of this shit would have happened?
Where?
You know what I mean? It's
never gonna know, mate.
I think the original drummer of Mayhem, it'd be good to get his take on everyone before they turned into that corpse paint band, because the original drummer, he left fucking well early. So there's really, I think there's just him and Necro Butcher and Hellhammer.
Hellhammer was the drummer.
Like, it's really just the three of them, and you never hear fucking boo from Hellhammer. Every time I've seen an interview with Necro Butcher, he just comes across as this fucking loud, obnoxious, I'll fucking tell you cunt attitude. So you never really get a straight answer out of him without him going off on a random tangent about some shit.
Yep.
So it'd be good to know.
Yeah, that was in his alcohol-fueled days.
Yeah. It'd be good to, like, actually
ones.
Have interviews or something with people who were around back then who aren't as big name in the industry, or who aren't even in the industry, who just hung around with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that whole scene where was it the drummer of Emperor, you were saying he's the one that killed that gay guy.
Yeah, Faust. Yep.
So look, when you watch that movie, it really does come across like he lured that dude out of the pub just so he could kill someone.
He did, because he wanted to know what it felt like to actually take someone's life.
That's fucking hectic. Go and kill Euronymous. If you want to kill someone, go and kill Euronymous. But
yeah, Varga
just,
already got there.
That's just a fucked up way of life. I want to know what it's like to kill someone, so you go and kill someone. Like, Jesus.
Well, you got to think, you know, teens these days, mate, they're all distracted by fucking internet and social media and video games. They didn't have any of that shit back then. They just stuck with their thoughts. And
did you hear about the fucking teen ladies, women over in Sydney area or wherever it was? The other month, there was three of them, and two of them were arguing with one of them. So they fucking stabbed her, put her in the boot, and the other two girls were driving her off somewhere to basically finish her off and dispose of the body. But she was still alive in the trunk, and she fucked with the lights or something, and the car ended up getting pulled over.
That wasn't the one over the toilet paper, was it?
Nah, don't think so.
I heard about some sort of stabbing over a toilet paper, but I couldn't remember.
No, I don't think it was toilet paper. It's just three teen girls, and one of them had a disagreement with the other two, and the other two decided, well, we're going to fucking off you. So crazy shit happens with that music, man.
Oh, fuck yeah, definitely. Yeah. Anything else you want to cover before we wrap this one up, mate?
No, that's about it. Good. I enjoyed the movie. I've seen it a bunch of times since we saw it at the movies. Again, as a fan of movies, I think it's fucking fantastic, and more people need to watch it. I think if they didn't market it as based on true events and all that sort of rubbish, I reckon they could have got a ton more views or a ton more tickets sold at the movies or whatever. But they kept it underground. They kept it with the black metal scene. Fair enough. It is a black metal movie. But they should have done more to get it out to just more moviegoers, I think.
Well, that's the thing as well. And they didn't really even have that much black metal music in it. Because I think if they had put too much in it anyway, then really how do you put it? Not mainstream people, but I suppose you just put it as mainstream. Yeah, everyday bloke who doesn't listen to black metal, I don't think a lot of people would even be able to sit through the movie if there's black metal music in it every 2 minutes.
Yeah, but saying that, like, I wouldn't watch it for black metal, and I don't think the people who, even in the black metal community, the people who watched it, I don't think they went there expecting to hear fantastic music. I think they went there for the story.
Yeah.
The actual.
Well, that's the reason I went, was for the story, and that's why I said to you, you got to come check this shit out.
Yeah.
But talking about checking shit out, what I want to do on a future episode is some of these early, like, second wave Norwegian black metal bands, I'll put a little list together, and maybe a few other random black metal bands.
Yeah.
And we can do a checkout series, even if it's in 2 parts. Do say 5 bands one day, 5 bands another. Because I know that you mentioned it a million times on the show, you're not a fan of blast beats and that sort of shit, black metal in general. Apart from, Cradle and Demu. So it'll be interesting to see what you think about some of this early black metal shit.
Yeah, I'm keen.
We'll jot that down for a future episode.
Yeah.
Show you some Mayhem and some Burzum and...
Well, I've actually,
Emperor, all that sort of shit.
Since that movie came out, I have listened to a Burzum record, I think.
Yep.
May have been something that someone had uploaded to YouTube, and I just press play on the computer or my phone. I can't remember. Still couldn't get into it, and I tried to get into some Mayhem. Still can't get into it.
Yeah, there's one Burzum album that I don't mind. I still find it hard to get into Mayhem, the earlier shit. But they had an album come out, I don't know if it was a couple of years ago or whatever, called Damon or Demon, depending on how you spell it. And that was a fucking fantastic album.
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed that one. But I think I'll probably pick songs that are from the early days and see what you think. And then I'll just chuck in some of my other bands I listen to and see what you think of them too.
Yeah, yeah.
You'll probably tell me they're all bullshit. But
Or shit sounds the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, is this a new band, mate? This sounds the same as that last fucking shit you said. But, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks everyone for watching. If you did happen to catch the movie, tell us down below what you thought of it. And if we actually get our shit together and read our comments, if you do happen to comment, we'll reply. Because we're really going to catch up and check on all that shit, mate.
Yeah.
Fuck. But yes.
Useless.
Anyhow, thanks, guys. We'll catch you the next one.
See yous.
Catch us.